Right everybody, hello. We're going to do vintage style number 1 today, which is called a percher. For obvious reasons, it perches on the top of your head really. Makes a nice cocktail hat. Now for this, I'm going to use this block. This block, one of my favourites. I make loads of things on this block. I'm not going to be using the entire block. It has an indentation there. So you choose something that's fairly small that you can easily just use the top of the block for. Now because I haven't got a hat stand that fits this block, I'm going to stand it on a saucepan. And as you'll see, I've already covered it in cling film. Now what I'm going to use for this is straw. I'm going to use a sisal hood. Now you've heard me talk about these before and they come in a natural colour. But what I've done is I've dyed this one a lovely sort of jadey green colour, and I've wet it so it's now damp. Now it's not going to keep its shape without some stiffener, so what I'm going to use is PVA, and I think this spray nozzle, has given up the ghost, so I'm just going to pour some out. So I'm going to dob some on the hat. Because what I tend to do is dob it on and then squeeze it all through the hat so it's got some all the way through it. Now you'll notice that my hands are coloured because my rubber gloves got a hole in them, which was my fault. I didn't check the gloves before I wore them. So anyway, I've now wet this straw and it's got stiffener all the way through it. I'll just make sure it's really squidged in. I can always re-stiffen it afterwards if I'm not happy with it. I'm going to choose which side of the straw I like the look of the most. So turn it inside out. Have a look at that side. No, I think I preferred that side actually. They've normally got an inside and an outside, especially on parasisal straw, but it's hard to tell on sisal. So what I'm going to do is pull it onto the block, centralise your middle point on the block, because you don't want it wonky, and then we're going to pull and stretch it to fit. So get it all on very nicely. That's the central point's moved a bit, so I'm going to have to move it back. So I don't want this to be a funny shape. Now you either use a blocking spring that I've shown in videos before how to make, or you use string to tie this on. So I'm going to put my blocking spring on, and I don't want it all the way down to the block. I only want it part way down, so not all the way to the bottom. You can see there, can you see at the front there that there's a bit of the block left. Now I've really got to stretch it and make sure that I've got no lumps, bumps, and I want to push it into that groove at the front. Now also when I finish this, I will be steam pressing it to get rid of any slight bumps that might still be in there, because remember, these are natural products and they're not always absolutely perfect all the way over, especially not a sisal straw. So I'm pushing it into the grooves. Now you can, if you want, pin into the grooves, but I don't like pinning straw. You always end up with holes. It doesn't matter what you use, even if you put a band over the top, and I'd just rather not. And I know that this block blocks really nicely without me having to pin. So right, that's going to go off to dry. So I'll see you later. Bye. Hello, here I am again folks. Now what's happened with my straw is it's now dried on the block called Crispy, and I've got my iron here. Hang on, I've got to activate my iron. It switches off if you don't if you leave it for a while, and I'm just going to run my iron over it. I use an old tea towel or an old bit of cloth, don't use anything decent. Just to run over the top with a bit of steam and a bit of pressure. So there we are, get into that little curve. Let me have a look. Very nice. A bit there. So, there we are. And I'm also going to do it around the sides as well. So, just give it a bit of a press. Right, there we are. So it's been pressed, and I'm going to take off the blocking spring. I hope you can see this against this green mat. I didn't think about that when I... oh, hang on, I've forgotten the scissors. My cutting straw scissors, not my cutting fabric scissors. So let's take it off the block. There we are, move the block out of the way. Right, I'm going to cut it around where I had the blocking spring, and that leaves a nice mark actually, so it gives me a perfect place to cut. So these aren't great scissors, but they're ideal for this. Right. So, cut all the way around. Now, how deep you make this hat or shallow is up to you entirely. I've got some customers that like this style very much, and they like it shallow, and some who like it a bit deeper, and some who like it to have a shape. But what you do with it is entirely up to you. Now, so I've cut it out, and what I need to do now is turn it in, because obviously I'm going to have to put a wire and some grosgrain or beecham. So I'm just turning it in with my fingers like this. I'll turn it in a bit more there. You can adjust so you've got a nice shape. So might have it a bit higher at one side or a bit lower. You can really play about with this, so that's why I like this shape. It can do a multitude of things. You've probably seen a few of these in my shop. So there we are. So that's the shape. Now what I'm going to do is just press that brim down, but before I do that I'm going to get my blocking spring, which I brought in and I don't know what I've done with. There we are. Life is such a pain sometimes. Oh, let's put it over here. Right, so here we are. We're using brim reed for this. I'm not using wire because I'm not turning this into any other sort of shape. I'm not shaping the brim. If I was, then I would use metal wire. But I'm not. I'm going to be using just this. So let's see how much we need. Right, so I get a rough feel for how much I need for the inside. I can chop it off with the scissors. There we are. And I'm going to put it in the hat. That's going to be the side, or what you would normally call the back. So that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to start putting my brim wire in there and push it right up to your crease level. So let's try and get a bit closer for you. Right. So when you've got it all in, it's all tucked in nicely, you want to clip it or pin it. I hardly ever pin anything, it's all clipped down. speed this bit up. With the good thing about straw is you can stretch it. So if you need to make it slightly bigger, you can. And then it'll fit, obviously, a bigger head. So, especially with a style like this where you haven't actually joined anything up together yet. So you can stretch it a bit as you go around if you want it a bigger size. But the nice thing about perchers is they fit pretty much most size heads. So check it against your own head, have a look. Are you happy? Yes, I'm happy. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to just, in between my clips, I'm going to press it down so it doesn't spring up again. Ooh, making my mat all wet. Oh, didn't do your mat a lot of good. Makes it go bulgy, although it does go down again afterwards. Now I'm going to stitch the headband in, because I'm going to stitch the headband to the straw at the same time as stitching the headband in. So I've chosen a nice green Petersham for this. So again, roughly how much do I need? Ooh. Go around. Yeah, always cut a bit extra, because in case you find, because what will happen is, as well, is when you shape it with the iron, it will shrink slightly. So if you cut it the exact size, you'll find when you've shaped it that you've now got it too short. So I'm not going to shape it on the board on the mat, because I've already mapped up the mat. So I'm going to give it a bit of a curve. Now I don't have to do a massive curve, just enough so that it fits nicely to the inside of the hat. Right. Now you want your curve, where's my back gone? Oh yeah. You want the curve to the top of the top, so you want the concave to the top and the convex to the bottom. Is that the right way around? So what I do is I go around and clip it in place with my clips. Now if you've not done the shape very well, you can redo it. But this is pretty even and not too. That's a good thing. You can always go back and re-iron it. It doesn't mind. It will reshape. So fold that over for a minute, just so I can show you. Right, there we are, folks. So I'm going to go away and stitch that. Very small stitches, and very small stitches through the straw, because I don't want them to be seen when it's all stitched together. So I'll have to find a matching thread and go off and stitch that. So I'm going to put that to one side again, because obviously this was the bit that was left. And I'm thinking, shall we could use this for anything. We could use it for a little half hat or a headband or anything. It looks quite cute. But I'm thinking perhaps a roly-roly thing for the hat itself. So I'm going to cut a piece off. I'm going to cut about half. I don't want the whole thing. It's way too much. I'm going to stick. Now, would you believe, halfway through chopping up this bit of straw, my phone packed up because it had no storage space left. I can't wait to be able to afford another phone with good video and photo capabilities. Anyway, I've cut a piece out, the shape I want from that brim. I've steamed it like mad. Don't wet it, just steam it, otherwise you won't be able to do this. And then you roll the edges. So you roll them just exactly the same way you would roll cinema edges. You just roll them, a nice tight roll. And I was doing this on the other side when the phone conked out on me. So I might have to redo that bit because I've just steamed it again and made it wet. So I'm rolling and rolling. It's quite tough on the fingers, this, but you get used to it after a while. My hands are still dyed from yesterday from dyeing stuff, and I don't want to bleach them. Don't do your hands any good. So I'm rolling up the sides, tight, tight, tight. Also, the warmth of your hand dries them out if they are a bit damp, but you really only want steam, not wet. Pull it to sort of get those rolls really firm. I'm going to roll the ends as well. If I can get one started. There we are. Not so easy on the ends. You're rolling against the grain again. So, anyway, you get the idea. And then I roll the corners together. I should put a double glue and snip those off. And then what I'll do is I'll use that for the decoration for the side of my hat. So you'll see it later when it's all finished. Thanks a lot. So with my teal green straw, what I've done is I've finished the hat now, so I can show you what I've done. What I've done is I've put elastic on. All the grosgrain is stitched inside through the hat. Shouldn't show any stitches on the outside. I've used my curled leftover bits to make a really pretty bow. And the nice thing about this hat is it can be worn that way, or that way, or even that way if you wanted. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Cheers.